SEGA Rally Championship.
SEGA Rally Championship is a really interesting game because when it was released back in 1995, I had very little hope for it. After all, the launch version of Daytona was a far cry from the arcade original. The amount of pop-in and poor textures was a complete turn-off for me. So how could the technically superior SEGA Rally Championship possibly fare any better? Well, as it turns out, it can indeed be significantly better, and proves that Daytona was rushed to the market. The difference between the two games is nothing short of staggering, and many consider this game to be the single best racing game on the Saturn. Let's find out exactly why that is. Well, for starters, the graphics are leaps and bounds better than those found in the launch version of Daytona. And I never understood how that was possible since only a few months separate the two releases. The game feels like it was released a good year or two later, but it wasn't, and that's just incredible to me. The game features significantly smoother textures, limited pop-in, and a rock-solid 30 frames per second frame rate. Whereas Daytona had trouble to maintain a 25 frame per second frame rate, and don't even get me started on all the pop-in and textures. I don't want the whole review to be about comparing these two games together, but in this regard, you need to understand just how big of a deal it was at the time. People were absolutely floored and were not expecting this. The difference between the arcade version and the Saturn version isn't that off either, which is also extremely impressive. The arcade version runs at a higher resolution and a locked 60 frames per second, and also has more visual fidelity in the backgrounds, but the two do indeed compare nicely. The Saturn version has a nice rich color palette and just plays great. And speaking of gameplay, everything from the arcade version is here, including the core tracks Desert, Forest, and Mountain. You can also unlock Lakeside as you progress through the game. Today, people may scoff at the number of tracks, but these are exceptionally well-designed tracks that fit the arcade gameplay perfectly and are a joy to play through. Each turn is broken up into easy, medium, and hard with a specific type for each: long, short, hairpin, and tight. Your navigator reads each out to you as you approach the turn. In order to overcome each turn, you'll need to practice over and over again, and mastering a track takes a very long time, particularly the mountain and lakeside tracks. Those are extremely challenging. Now, I haven't played this game in over a decade, and I was having trouble in the first two tracks, so just imagine. SEGA Rally Championship isn't just about coming in first place. I mean, that's just not good enough. It's about mastering each and every turn, shaving off a few seconds from your lap time, and just really getting the most out of the tracks as possible. Eventually you'll get the pole position regardless of what you do, but becoming a rally master will take far, far longer. The game contains a championship mode, time attack, a practice mode, and a two-player battle. In terms of cars, you have access to a Toyota Celica and a Lancia Delta, but you can unlock a Lancia Stratos later on. Much like the tracks, this game isn't about quantity but quality. Each of the cars can be ran in either automatic or manual transmission, and the low number allows you to truly get a feel for how each car is different. In time attack and two-player battle mode, you can even customize the front and rear suspension, the type of tires and brakes, and the sound of the muffler. The music and sound effects may not be as awesome as the graphics, but they do their part. Sometimes your teammate can be a little bit hard to hear, but for the most part he does what he needs to. The music is fitting and the sound effects are as you'd expect. Many consider SEGA Rally Championship to be the very best arcade racing game of the entire 32-bit generation. And if you devote some time into this game, you'll see why that is. This is arcade racing at its absolute finest.